Have you ever felt like someone in your life is only there for their own benefit, treating you not as a person, but as a tool for their convenience? It's a harsh realization, one that can leave you questioning not just the relationship but your own worth. Perhaps a friend disappears until they need a favor, or someone constantly ignores your feelings, showing up only to take. These moments sting, but they also offer a chance for clarity and growth. In this video, we're diving deep into the Stoic wisdom that can help you recognize and respond to these attitudes. Together, we'll explore 7 behaviors of people who use you and examine how Stoicism can guide us through these challenges. These aren't just lessons in self-protection, they're insights into cultivating a life of resilience, self-respect, and virtue. But don't think of this as just a critique of others. It's also an opportunity for self-reflection. How do we allow such relationships to persist? What can we learn from these experiences? And most importantly, how do we build boundaries without losing our sense of compassion? The answers to these questions are not only revealing, but deeply empowering. Stay with us as we uncover these signs, one by one. The most profound lesson lies not in the attitudes themselves, but in the strength you cultivate by understanding and addressing them. Let's begin. 1. Only available when they need something. Have you ever noticed someone who rarely reaches out unless they need something from you? It's as if they have a radar that activates only when they're in trouble or need a favor. Flattering words and sudden interest in your life become tools of convenience, vanishing as quickly as they appeared. When the need is met, so too is their presence in your life, until the next request. Why does this pattern feel so familiar? Perhaps it's because we've all experienced it at some point. Maybe it was a friend who only called when they needed help moving, or a colleague who reached out solely to borrow your expertise. At first, we may rationalize their behavior, believing that their intentions are genuine. But over time, the imbalance becomes undeniable. Their actions reveal the truth. Their interest in you is transactional, not relational. From the lens of Stoicism, this realization, though painful, is a gift. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This principle invites us to consider the sincerity of others' actions as well as our own. When someone only approaches you for their benefit, it's an opportunity to reflect. What am I allowing in this relationship? Is this a connection I nurture out of duty, fear of conflict, or misplaced loyalty? It's crucial to remember that helping others is not inherently wrong. In fact, generosity is a virtue cherished in Stoic philosophy. However, the key lies in discernment. Are you giving freely and with joy, or are you giving out of obligation to someone who takes without giving back? As Epictetus advises, he who is self-sufficient is never without a resource. This doesn't mean isolating yourself, but recognizing that your worth and peace are not dependent on fulfilling the endless needs of others. Imagine a Roman senator approached only when someone needed a favor, their time or influence exploited under the guise of friendship. Would the Stoics advise resentment? No. Resentment only drains the soul. Instead, they would counsel clarity. See the relationship for what it is, a transaction, and decide whether or not to participate with full awareness of its nature. But how do we navigate this situation practically? Start by observing. Take note of how often these individuals engage with you outside of their requests. Do they inquire about your well-being? Are they present during your times of need? If the answer is consistently no, it's time to reevaluate. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It's wise. Say yes when you choose to give, not because you feel coerced. And when you must decline, do so with grace but firmness, knowing that your refusal reflects your self-respect, not cruelty. Think of the times you've helped someone only to feel drained or unappreciated afterward. How would it feel instead to reserve your energy for those who truly value you, who reciprocate care and respect? This is not just about protecting your peace. It's about aligning your actions with your values, a cornerstone of Stoic living. As we conclude this first behavior, ask yourself, do I recognize this pattern in any of my relationships? If so, how can I begin to set boundaries that honor both my kindness and my integrity? Reflect on these questions as we move forward to the next attitude, which reveals another way people may take advantage of your goodwill. 2. Absence in critical moments. Picture this. You're in the middle of a metaphorical storm. Life has thrown challenges your way, and you naturally turn to someone you consider a friend, a confidant. You expect their support, their presence, their reassurance that you're not facing the storm alone. Yet, when you look around, they are nowhere to be found. They've vanished when you needed them most. This absence cuts deeply, doesn't it? It leaves you wondering, was the relationship ever mutual? Were they ever truly there for me? Or were they only present when things were easy and convenient? Moments like these force us to confront an uncomfortable truth about certain relationships. Some people only stick around for the sunshine, not the storms. From a Stoic perspective, these experiences, painful as they are, hold invaluable lessons. Epictetus taught that we cannot control the actions of others, only our own responses. So, when someone chooses absence over support, ask yourself, what does this reveal about their character? And more importantly, how can I respond in a way that preserves my peace and dignity? Consider this. Does their absence diminish your strength? At first, it might feel like it does. The void left by their neglect can feel like an anchor pulling you down. But Stoicism reminds us that our resilience is not dependent on others. It is cultivated within. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Their absence, then, becomes an opportunity for self-discovery. Reflect on a time when you faced such disappointment. Did their absence reveal something about your own capacity for independence? Perhaps it showed you that, despite the pain, you endured. This realization is empowering. You are not as reliant on others as you might have believed. The storms you weathered alone were not moments of abandonment, but of growth. Now, let's approach this practically. What should you do when someone fails to show up during a critical moment? First, acknowledge the hurt. Stoicism does not ask us to deny our emotions. It encourages us to observe them without letting them control us. Recognize the disappointment, but resist the temptation to let it harden your heart or cloud your judgment. Next, reassess the relationship. Is this absence a one-time event or a pattern? If it's the latter, it may be time to adjust your expectations. Lowering expectations isn't an act of bitterness, but of wisdom. As Seneca advised, expecting is the greatest impediment to living. In anticipation of tomorrow, it loses today. Free yourself from expecting more than someone can or is willing to give. Does this mean you cut ties with everyone who disappoints you? Not necessarily. Stoicism emphasizes balance. Recognize the limits of the relationship and decide how much of your energy it deserves moving forward. Acknowledge their behavior without letting it disrupt your inner tranquility. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." And here's a critical takeaway. Their absence does not define your worth. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking, if they cared, they would have been there. While this may be true, their choice reflects their character, not yours. Your value remains intact, untouched by their actions. You are the steady flame, unwavering even in the strongest winds. Now, let me turn this to you, dear viewer. Have you ever found yourself abandoned in a time of need? What did it teach you about your own resilience? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story could inspire others who are navigating similar situations. And if this resonates with you, give this video a like. Each like helps spread these Stoic lessons to others who may need them. Remember, you're not alone in this journey of self-discovery. Together we can learn to rise above the disappointments and cultivate a life rooted in strength, clarity, and peace. Stay with us, because the next behavior we'll explore is one that cuts to the core of our self-worth. When someone shows a blatant lack of empathy or understanding, let's uncover how Stoicism empowers us to respond to this challenge with grace and resilience. 3. Lack of empathy or understanding. Have you ever poured your heart out to someone only to be met with indifference? Maybe you shared a struggle, a joy, or a deeply personal moment, hoping for understanding, only to be dismissed or ignored. It's a jarring experience, one that leaves you questioning not just the relationship, but the role you play in it. How can someone you value so much care so little about your emotions? This lack of empathy reveals something profound. They see your experiences as inconsequential, not worth their attention. It's as if your struggles are invisible to them, your joys insignificant unless they serve their own interests. This behavior can be subtle, a hurried change of topic, a half-hearted acknowledgement, or blatant, like outright dismissal of your feelings. Either way, the message is clear. Your inner world doesn't matter to them. But what does Stoicism teach us about such encounters? At its core, Stoicism is a philosophy of clarity and resilience. When someone shows a lack of empathy, it's tempting to internalize their indifference as a reflection of your own worth. Yet the Stoics remind us that another's actions are not within our control and therefore do not define us. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Their inability to empathize says everything about them and nothing about you. Imagine a Stoic philosopher in ancient Greece sharing his concerns with someone only to be dismissed. Would he react with anger or hurt? No. He would view the interaction as an opportunity for reflection. Why did he expect empathy from this person? Was the expectation realistic? And, most importantly, how can he use this experience to strengthen his inner peace? This doesn't mean we should suppress our feelings or deny our need for meaningful connection. Stoicism does not advocate emotional detachment, but rather emotional mastery. When faced with a lack of empathy, acknowledge your disappointment. Recognize the natural human desire to feel seen and understood. But then, step back. Ask yourself, is their opinion of my experience truly relevant to my well-being? Do I need their validation to affirm my own emotions? The answer, according to Stoicism, is no. There's also a lesson here about expectations. Often we expect empathy because we would offer it ourselves. When that expectation is unmet, it leads to frustration. Epictetus advises us, don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do, and you will go on well. This doesn't mean you excuse their behavior, but rather that you release the expectation that they will act differently. By doing so, you protect your peace. Consider the relationships in your life. Are there people who consistently fail to show empathy? If so, what role do they play in your journey toward growth? Are they there to challenge your patience, to help you practice acceptance, or to teach you the importance of choosing your inner circle wisely? Remember, Stoicism is not about blaming others, but about learning from every interaction. Empathy is a cornerstone of meaningful relationships. When it's absent, it leaves us feeling disconnected and devalued. But even in the face of indifference, we have the power to define our own worth. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Your emotional well-being is not tied to their acknowledgement, but to your ability to rise above their neglect. Finally, let this be a moment of reflection. Think about the role empathy plays in your relationships. Are you surrounded by people who uplift and support you? Or are there those who take but fail to give? Use this as an opportunity to recalibrate, to focus your energy on connections that enrich your life rather than drain it. In doing so, you align yourself with the principles of Stoicism, resilience, clarity, and a commitment to living virtuously, regardless of the actions of others. As we move forward, we'll explore a behavior that strikes at the heart of manipulation, guilt as a weapon. Stay with us as we uncover how to identify and counter this tactic with calm and steadfast resolve. 4. Guilt manipulation. Guilt is a powerful emotion, often tied to our deepest sense of responsibility and morality. But in the wrong hands, guilt can be wielded as a tool of manipulation, a way to coerce, control, and bend your will. Have you ever experienced someone saying, "If you really cared, you'd do this for me," or "I can't believe you're letting me down"? Such statements are not expressions of genuine hurt. They are calculated to provoke a reaction and make you feel obligated to act against your better judgment. When someone uses guilt as a weapon, their aim is clear: to control your choices by making you feel responsible for their happiness, failures, or struggles. This tactic is insidious because it preys on your natural kindness, your desire to do good. Yet Stoicism teaches us that our actions must always be guided by virtue, not by the manipulations of others. Epictetus reminds us, "No man is free who is not master of himself." When we allow guilt to dictate our decisions, we surrender our autonomy. The Stoics would urge us to pause and examine the situation. What is motivating this person's words? Are they seeking fairness and mutual understanding, or are they exploiting your compassion for their own benefit? Imagine a philosopher in ancient Athens faced with a friend who says, "If you don't help me, I'll be ruined." The philosopher, rooted in Stoic principles, would not react impulsively. Instead, he would reflect, "Is this request aligned with justice and reason? Am I truly helping this person, or am I enabling a behavior that harms both of us?" These questions guide him to act with wisdom rather than emotion. The same reflection applies to us today. When someone attempts to manipulate you through guilt, step back and analyze the situation. Ask yourself, is their request fair and reasonable? Am I acting out of a sense of duty and virtue, or am I reacting to their pressure? What are the long-term consequences of my action? By taking the time to reflect, you regain control over your choices. Stoicism teaches us that we are responsible for our own actions and emotions, not for the feelings of others. While it's natural to care about someone's well-being, it's not your responsibility to fix every problem they face, especially when their demands conflict with your values. Practicing this mindset does not mean becoming cold or indifferent. On the contrary, it allows you to act with genuine compassion, free from manipulation. When you help someone, let it come from a place of sincerity and choice, not coercion. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What is not good for the hive cannot be good for the bee." True kindness benefits both the giver and the receiver. It does not come at the cost of your peace or integrity. But what should you do when confronted with guilt manipulation? First, acknowledge the emotional impact it has on you. Stoicism does not deny the reality of feelings, but encourages us to examine them without letting them control us. Recognize the guilt, but don't let it dictate your actions. Instead, respond calmly and firmly. You might say, "I understand how you feel, but this is not something I can do." By setting boundaries with clarity and respect, you reclaim your power and maintain your inner peace. The next time you encounter guilt manipulation, visualize a barrier around your mind, a fortress protecting your thoughts and values. Within this fortress lies your commitment to live according to reason, not manipulation. No one can breach this wall unless you allow it. This exercise, rooted in Stoic practice, reminds you that your integrity is inviolable, no matter how others attempt to sway you. Ultimately, guilt manipulation is a test of your resolve. It challenges you to balance compassion with discernment, kindness with boundaries. And in navigating these challenges, you grow not only in strength, but also in wisdom. Let their words remind you not of your obligation to them, but of your responsibility to yourself, to live with virtue, clarity, and peace. In the next section, we'll explore another revealing behavior: disregard for your needs and feelings. It's a pattern that often leaves us feeling invisible and undervalued. Together, we'll uncover how Stoicism helps us respond to such neglect with dignity and resilience. 5. Disregard for your needs and feelings. Have you ever felt invisible in a relationship? You give your time, your energy, your care. Yet, when it comes to your own needs, the other person turns a blind eye. Perhaps they expect your understanding but offer none in return, or they assume your kindness is infinite, never pausing to ask what you might need. This disregard for your feelings and needs is more than hurtful. It's a sign that the relationship is imbalanced and that they see your effort as something to take for granted. This behavior can feel like a sharp wind extinguishing the flame of your inner light. It leaves you questioning your worth and wondering if you're asking for too much. But here's the truth. Asking for reciprocity, care, and respect is not too much. It's the foundation of any meaningful relationship. So, why do some people treat your needs as an afterthought? And how can you respond in a way that protects your peace? Stoicism offers a path forward, one that begins with understanding your intrinsic value. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "It never ceases to amaze me." We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. In this context, the opinion we sometimes value too much is the silent approval of those who disregard us. Yet the Stoics urge us to prioritize our own sense of self-worth, not as arrogance, but as a recognition of the dignity that resides in every human being. When someone consistently disregards your needs, it's not a reflection of your value, it's a reflection of their character. Recognizing this distinction is crucial. As Epictetus advised, know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly. You are not defined by their neglect. You are defined by your actions, your values, and your commitment to living a life of virtue. But how do you navigate such relationships? The first step is to observe without judgment. Take note of the patterns. Do they only take but rarely give? Are they indifferent to your struggles but quick to demand your support? Observation brings clarity, and clarity allows you to act with wisdom. Once you've identified the imbalance, the next step is setting boundaries. This can be as simple as expressing your needs directly. "I've noticed that I'm often supporting you, but I could use some support too." Or it may mean stepping back from the relationship altogether, especially if their disregard is persistent and unapologetic. Remember, boundaries are not walls. They are bridges that allow for mutual respect. Now, let me ask you, have you ever experienced someone dismissing your needs or feelings? How did it make you feel, and how did you respond? Reflect on these moments and consider what you might do differently moving forward. Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story could inspire someone else to find their voice and set healthy boundaries. And if this resonates with you, take a moment to like this video. Your support helps spread these important lessons to others who may be struggling with similar situations. By engaging with this content, you're not just learning, you're contributing to a community of resilience and growth. The truth is, Your needs and feelings matter, no matter how others treat them. By grounding yourself in the principles of Stoicism, you can protect your peace and dignity. When someone disregards you, let it be a reminder to honor yourself, to uphold your self-worth, and to seek relationships that nurture rather than drain you. Next, we'll explore another behavior that diminishes your light: diminishing or disdainful comments. How can you remain unshaken in the face of cutting remarks? Let's uncover the Stoic wisdom that empowers you to rise above negativity with grace and composure. 6. Diminishing or disdainful comments. Words have power. They can uplift, inspire, and strengthen, or they can cut, belittle, and erode confidence. Have you ever shared an idea or achievement only for someone to brush it off with disdainful comments? Perhaps they downplayed your success or mocked your efforts. Their remarks weren't constructive. They were designed to undermine you, to dim your light so theirs could shine brighter. Such behavior can feel like an attack on your worth. It may leave you questioning your abilities or wondering why they chose to diminish rather than celebrate your achievements. But Stoicism offers a perspective that allows you to reclaim your power in these moments. Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Their words, as cutting as they may seem, are external. Your response to them is what defines the experience. When faced with diminishing comments, it's important to pause and reflect. Ask yourself, what do their words truly mean? Do they carry weight? Or are they a reflection of the speaker's insecurity or need for control? Often, such remarks reveal more about the person delivering them than the one receiving them. A secure and virtuous person doesn't need to belittle others to feel significant. Imagine a Stoic philosopher in ancient Rome speaking before a crowd. When someone shouts a jeering remark from the audience, would he falter? Would he argue? No. The Stoic would recognize the heckler's words as nothing more than sound, external noise that holds no sway over his inner tranquility. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This wisdom reminds us that no comment, no matter how harsh, can penetrate your peace unless you allow it. This doesn't mean you ignore every remark or pretend it doesn't hurt. Stoicism is not about suppressing your emotions, but about mastering them. If a comment stings, acknowledge the feeling, observe it without judgment, and then let it pass. What matters is not the sting, but how you choose to act afterward. Will you dwell on their words, or will you rise above them? In practical terms, responding to diminishing comments often requires no response at all. Silence can be a powerful tool. It denies the speaker the reaction they seek. However, when a response is necessary, keep it calm and composed. A simple, "I see things differently," or "Thank you for your input," can diffuse the situation without giving their words undue power. Your dignity is preserved, and your peace remains intact. But what if such comments come from someone close to you, someone whose opinion you value? This can be more challenging because their words may feel deeply personal. Even in these cases, Stoicism teaches us to separate the person from their behavior. Recognize that their remarks, while hurtful, do not define your worth. Their perspective is theirs alone, shaped by their experiences, biases, and insecurities. It need not become your reality. Take a moment to reflect on how you've handled such situations in the past. Have you allowed their words to linger in your mind, feeding self-doubt? Or have you practiced resilience, recognizing their comments as external and choosing to focus on what truly matters, your own growth and virtue? Each experience, even the painful ones, is an opportunity to strengthen your resolve. Ultimately, the Stoic path reminds us that our worth is not determined by the opinions of others, but by the quality of our character and the principles we uphold. Let their diminishing comments pass like clouds across the sky, noticed but powerless to disturb the stillness within. Your light is yours alone, and no one's words can diminish it unless you allow them to. 7. Broken promises. Have you ever placed your trust in someone's promise, only to watch that promise fade into oblivion? Perhaps it was a friend who swore to be there, a partner who vowed to support you, or a colleague who assured you of their reliability. Yet when the moment came, their words proved hollow, leaving you with the heavy weight of disappointment. Broken promises are more than failures of commitment. They are breaches of trust, cracks in the foundation of a relationship. Why does it hurt so much when a promise is broken? Because promises are not just words. They are expressions of intention, trust, and respect. When someone fails to keep their word, it feels personal, as if they've disregarded the value of the bond you share. But Stoicism offers a lens through which we can view such betrayals not as sources of despair, but as opportunities for growth. Imagine a Stoic philosopher lending money to a friend who promises to return it on a specific date. When the friend fails to deliver, what does the philosopher do? Does he lash out in anger or wallow in bitterness? No. He turns inward, reflecting on what is within his control. As Epictetus reminds us, it is not things that disturb us, but our interpretation of their significance. The philosopher recognizes that while the broken promise is beyond his control, his reaction to it is entirely his own. When someone breaks a promise to you, it is natural to feel hurt or betrayed. But the key is to pause and ask yourself, what is within my power here? Can I control their actions, their choices, or their integrity? The Stoic answer is clear: you cannot. What you can control is your perspective. You can choose to see the broken promise as a reflection of their character, not a measure of your worth. Let's take this a step further. How often do we allow the actions of others to disrupt our inner peace? When someone breaks a promise, we might replay the event in our minds, feeding resentment or regret. But does this serve us? As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Instead of dwelling on what was lost, focus on what remains, your capacity to endure, to learn, and to grow stronger." What does this mean in practice? First, accept the reality of the broken promise. Acceptance does not mean condoning the behavior. It means recognizing it for what it is, a moment that has passed, beyond your control. Next, use this experience as a guide for future interactions. If the person shows a pattern of unreliability, adjust your expectations accordingly. As Seneca advises, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Do not waste your time expecting integrity from those who have shown they cannot provide it. Does this mean we must become cynical, trusting no one? Not at all. Stoicism teaches balance. Trust where it is earned, and let go where it is not. When promises are kept, cherish them. When they are broken, see them as reminders of the impermanence of all things. Even the strongest commitments can falter, for humans are fallible creatures. To expect otherwise is to invite unnecessary suffering. Reflect on your own experiences with broken promises. How did you respond? Did you allow the betrayal to consume your thoughts, or did you find a way to move forward? Consider the lessons these moments have taught you. Perhaps they revealed the true nature of a relationship or helped you recognize your own resilience. Each broken promise is a chapter in the story of your growth, a chance to practice the Stoic virtues of patience, clarity, and self-reliance. Ultimately, broken promises challenge us to cultivate inner strength. They remind us that while we cannot control the actions of others, we can always control our own. When someone fails to keep their word, let it be an opportunity to reaffirm your commitment to living with integrity. Let their failure guide you not toward resentment, but toward wisdom. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if thou wilt always look." In the face of broken promises, turn inward. Discover the well of resilience that lies within you, and know that no matter how many promises are broken, your peace, your dignity, and your strength remain unshaken, firmly within your control. The behaviors we've explored, those who only take, disregard your needs, manipulate, diminish, or vanish in times of need, are not just tests of relationships, but of your own resilience. Each experience is an opportunity to practice Stoicism, to cultivate the virtues of clarity, self-respect, and unwavering inner peace. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The actions of others, no matter how disappointing, cannot disturb your tranquility unless you allow them to. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you recognized any of these behaviors in your life? How have you responded to them, and what lessons have they taught you? Share your reflections in the comments. Your insights could be the encouragement someone else needs. And if this video has brought you value, consider liking, subscribing, and sharing it with others who might benefit from these Stoic lessons. Thank you for joining me on this journey. May the wisdom of Stoicism guide you in every challenge, helping you cultivate strength, clarity, and peace. Until next time, stay steadfast, resilient, and virtuous.